Welcome back to the CardinalSports.com recruiting chat. I'm your recruiting analyst, Dave Lackford, and I'm here to answer your questions. So let's get right into it, shall we? Lakeboy25 asks, Dave, any info on UL's recruitment of Daquan Gonzalez, the corner out of Jansen Beach? Yeah, he's one of the top dudes on Louisville's board. They love him. They want him. He got offered by LSU a while back, blew up, got Michigan State, Florida, Miami, Penn State, a lot of different schools. I've read a few interviews that he's done with other reporters, and it seems like he's kind of trying to wait it out because all of his options are new. I have a couple people down in Florida working to get in touch with him. He's hard to get a hold of. So, but just know that he's definitely a take for Louisville, and he's high on the board. TDG Miller asks, between Raheem Craig and Ashton Gilotti, who do you think has more potential, and do you foresee either getting a bump in the rankings? Well, thanks for putting me on the spot there. Appreciate it. As far as rankings go, I'm not in charge of that. I don't do that. But Gilotti was down at the Miami camp, and he did well, won a few reps, looked good. He'll probably get a bump up to 3-star status. Raheem Craig, he is in North Carolina, a really small area. Think like Pikeville or something like that if you live here in Kentucky. If not, just think of, small region that plays, against not so great competition. I got times on these guys. I don't want to put their times out there like that. They participated in rivals combines. I think Gilotti has more athleticism than Craig. He's longer than Craig. He's got a bigger frame than Craig. So I think that Gilotti is a higher upside guy who could come off the edge for them. Craig's a little undersized, but they've got a plan to use him in some capacity. I don't know what it is. These kids are going to grow. They're going to get different. He could shoot up to 6'4", and all of a sudden he's got the same length as Gilotti. Who knows? But right now, with the information I have in front of me, I'm going to go with Gilotti on that one. Now, Cardinal Cash asks, how did the staff get in the battle for Chestnut? Chestnut is Darian Deuce Chestnut. He is a 4-star Rivals 250 guy, according to national analyst Adam Friedman. And then how did the staff get in the battle for Chestnut? That's all Brian Brown, the defensive coordinator. He's been on Chestnut for a while. He's recruiting him. Cardinal Cash also asked, who is recruiting New Jersey, and has this been a recent development, or we've been in contact for a while? Do our chances of landing him look better than Hallman or Omarion Cooper? Good questions. Brown, I guess, is spot recruiting New Jersey, but Louisville does a lot of spot recruiting. They cast a huge net. It's just kind of how you have to recruit when you're Louisville. And there's been kids. There was a wide receiver committed to Louisville back in Bobby Petrino's last year, who was also from Camden. His name escapes me right now. He ended up at Rutgers. He did, the new staff kind of was like, sorry, but we're going to go in a different direction when they were hired, which is their prerogative, and it happens all the time when a new staff takes over. So don't think I'm throwing shots at Satterfield's staff. I'm not. It's just they didn't recruit the guy, and they had to go sign their own dude. So that is what it is. But they these Camden kids come to camp every now and then. I don't know if Chestnut camped at Louisville, but he's a top guy on the board. Louisville likes him. Recently, Adam Friedman, who covers that region, released a contenders pretenders list for him, listed 5 schools, put Louisville number 1, and that coincides what I've heard from my Louisville sources, that they feel as if they lead for him in this recruitment. Is it over? No. Will it play out a little bit longer? Potentially, but they're in a good spot right now, and I think they lead. He named Michigan number 3. I don't remember who he named number 2. He's got a good offer list, so that would be a major win for Louisville as far as, getting a boost in the rankings department, at least here on the rival site. We haven't bumped a lot of dudes like 24/7 who they're saying they're taking a deep dive in the film, and they just released the new rankings, even though they just released rankings a while back. So that deep dive they must have a submarine, because they're diving real deep and all these players are getting bumps. But that's just me throwing shade right there. pay no mind to me. And do our chances of landing him look better than Hallman or Omarion Cooper? Cooper was supposed to call me. So Omarion, if you're watching this, yo, what are you doing? Louisville's in the mix for Cooper. Cooper told me that they're definitely one of his top schools. So good chance for Cooper. Right now, I'd say there's a better chance for Deuce because, like I said, Deuce Chestnut, because I believe that Louisville leads for him. And that interview that Friedman did, Friedman ranked him #1. So he came out of that interview feeling like Louisville was in the lead for him as well. Just don't know the commitment dates on these kids. Cooper told me that he wanted to commit sometime soon. He was going to be dropping his final schools. So I don't know what that means. He capitalized the word final in the message he sent me and told me that would be around like the beginning of June. So watch out for that. But I don't think he'll be committing in June, but things change fast. So who knows? As far as Ricardo Hallman goes, he's on the board. I don't know if where he's at on the board right now. If they miss on somebody else, they'll definitely have him jump on. I think the top 3 at corner right now would be Deuce Chestnut, Daquan Gonzalez, and Omarion Cooper, as well as the 2 JUCO kids from EMCC, Jadarius Perkins and Kyrie something or other. I forget his name. I think they had a good shot with Jadarius Perkins as well. So I don't know where Hallman is on the board, but I would think that the top 3 high school kids definitely are the ones I just named, and the kid who's committed to Boston College, whose name escapes me as well. He's listed as a safety, but Louisville likes him as a corner. So he's a kid that Connie Walker is his name, and I think that he'd be a take as well. So the cornerback board is competitive. Is it first come, first serve? I don't think so. I think they have their guys set up who they want. But Hallman would be a take if he wanted to jump on board, I would assume. But I don't think he's necessarily the top guy, the top 4 that they are looking at right now. Bill Underwood, 2020, joined April 16th, 2020. Welcome aboard. Thank you. He asks, Sanders, he's talking about Shadur Sanders, the quarterback we are recruiting, has a really good offer sheet. I see Alabama, LSU, Michigan, and Florida, among others. Do you think these are committable offers, or could you explain why he has such a good offer sheet to a relatively low ranking? Well, in 2020, offers are not committable half the time, and you're going to have to come to camp and prove it. I reached out to some Alabama guys. I said, what's up with Sanders? Was told, backup plan. So I would say no, that's not committable. LSU already has a quarterback commit. So no. Michigan already has a quarterback commit. So I would say no. Florida already has a quarterback commit. So again, no. So I don't think any of those are committable right now because they have their guys. In Alabama, I was told he's a backup plan. So cool offer sheet to put on paper, but can't commit there. And his ranking is 5.7, which is not a relatively low ranking in my opinion. It's a very high 3-star. It means that you are projected to be an all-conference player. So it's not a bad ranking. It's a good ranking. So that's what that is. But you'll learn more as long as you stick with the board. I'll explain these kind of things in detail. And like I said, welcome to the site. Tron the Legacy. He asks, are we done recruiting defensive end, and are we taking any defensive tackles in this class? You got to understand, Louisville runs 3-4, so their DNs are kind of like D tackles, right? So they'll move around from different technique positions, okay? But for the most part, if they're recruiting a D end, he's going to be kind of flanked by 2 outside linebackers. So I think they're done unless somebody really, really good wants to jump on board that they really like and can't turn down. Right now, I don't know that there's a guy out there like that. So I would say for now, yeah. But if an exemplary player wants to jump on board, then they'll make an exception. EKY Chow, my man. What's up? He asks, I know the previous staff, you kind of gave a hard time on how they recruited. Not really, but okay. However, recently, I feel like you're more optimistic about how Louisville recruits. Let me tell you something right now. Optimism is irrational, and I'm a rational person, so don't ever call me optimistic. I take offense to that. No, I'm not optimistic. I'm realistic. Is this because the site is paying you more money to say nice things, or do you genuinely feel like this staff knows what they're doing? First and foremost, this site is not paying me enough to say anything other than what I want to say. Let's get that out of the way. Do I genuinely feel like this staff knows what they're doing? I mean, look, I'm not mad at what they're doing, and I'm not going to go on the record and sit here and say, no, I don't feel like they know what they're doing, because they won't talk to me anymore if I ever reach out to them for any reason, and they'll get mad at me. They know what they're looking for. They know the X's and O's, and they know what players fit their scheme. So they're going after guys that, number one, they think that they can realistically get, okay? They're not going to waste a bunch of resources going after a kid who has a top 3 of LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. Just not going to do that, right? But they're evaluating who they want and who they're going to put in their system and who they think that they can get the most benefit from having out there. And you've seen them do that with the guys they have here right now that they didn't recruit. So now they're recruiting guys that they feel are going to fit in their system. And yeah, they know what they're doing. I mean, I don't. There's nothing that makes me say these dudes suck. You know. They have to recruit the way they have to recruit. It's each team has to go about it with a different strategy. Louisville's strategy is, you cast a broad net. You got to go after a lot of guys. It makes for a lot of hard work on my end. But, yeah, I think they know what they're doing. I'm not mad at them. You also asked Mr. Chow. He also asked, I've noticed the Bingham lineman in 2020 has picked up several offers lately. Do you think Louisville will get involved with him? He's talking about Grant Bingham, who is a 2022 offensive guard out of Johnson Central. That's up there in Paintsville, Kentucky, up in the mountains. Kid's big. He can run. He's got a lot of upside. He's picked up Notre Dame. He just picked up Arizona State. So he's kind of a national recruit. If Arizona's recruiting him, that's a team all the way out there in the desert on the West Coast. He's got Kentucky. He's got Penn State, I think. He's been blowing up. He does not have Kentucky. I don't know if Louisville is going to get involved with him. He's definitely the type of kid that Louisville would like inside. And I could definitely see him flourishing under Dwayne Lackford. However, he's out in Johnson Central, and that area is kind of pro-Kentucky. However, they did land Cole Bentley out of Belfry, so I don't know. They should get involved with him. If I was them, I'd get involved with him. He's an in-state kid, and you want to go after those dudes, but that's to be determined. TBD. Mr. Chow also says, keep up the great work. Thanks, brother. Card for Life 32 asks, have you heard any timetable on RJ Sorensen? Yeah, he committed. How about that? He committed he announced at 7:52 a.m. when I was still in bed. Thanks for that. But luckily I had an article saved in the draft, and Ty Spalding was able to get that out there 8 minutes after he committed. So we're good. We're covered there. I did an in-depth analysis piece on him, on what I thought that he meant for the roster here at Louisville, as well as what I thought of him based on my deep dive on film. So make sure to check that out. It's on the Premium Recruiting Board. It's also on the front page. And that's what happened. He actually committed the day before. And I was like, cool, he'll announce and it'll be around the normal time and I'll have this ready to roll. He didn't. He waited overnight and then committed in the morning. So I guess he slept on it. And when he woke up, he knew what it was. So that's what it is. Card for Life 32 also asks, could Huggins Bruce make a decision relatively soon, or is this going to drag into the fall? Man, Huggins Bruce is stressful to cover. I don't know. Everybody put in their picks for Louisville. Louisville's been recruiting him hard. He's the number one guy. A lot of eggs in that Amari Huggins Bruce basket. He just dropped the top 12. So could he turn around and drop the top 6 or top 3? Sure. Could he turn around and commit? Sure. I think Virginia Tech was on him hard, and they wanted him to commit, and he hasn't. So maybe they backed away from him, and that's why all the crystal balls changed. I talked to a friend of mine down in South Carolina. He told me that, based on what he's hearing, he thinks it's Louisville just based on the relationship he has with Gunnar Brewer. But Huggins is a kid who likes to do a lot on social media, but he doesn't like to talk to the media, the regular media. So I don't know, man. I would expect him to drag it out, honestly. I don't think the kid wants to stop being recruited at this point. That's just my take on it. I could be wrong. I probably am, and he'll commit tomorrow. And then somebody on social media be like, "Hey, Dave, you said all this, and then you were wrong the next day." So he'll probably commit right now as I'm speaking. But I would expect him to drag it out. But that's just based upon the way that his behavioral patterns have shown themselves to manifest throughout this. Card for Life 32 again says, I read the Fordham article. He's talking about Caden Fordham. He's from Jacksonville. He plays for the Bowl School down there, prestigious public school, and a big-time football program down there. He says, I read it in the Fordham article earlier. Seems like NC State and U of L. Would you agree? Yeah, here's why. He did an article with the Miami site about 9-10 days ago, and he listed Miami, he listed Wake Forest, NC State, and he listed Louisville. And he said that he's going to commit later on this week. And then the NCAA extended the dead period. So I did an interview with him after that happened, and he told me it was Georgia Tech, Louisville, NC State, and Wake Forest. So the three consistent ones there are Louisville, NC State, and Wake Forest, and Georgia Tech and Miami kind of look like filler. But I think that it is NC State and Louisville. I asked him what staff he had the best connection with. He told me NC State. NC State offered him after he camped. And that was last year. And it was right after that. Wake Forest, he said, offered him a few months after he camped. He said he has the longest relationship with Tony Gibson, who is now the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. He replaces Dave Huxtable, who was let go this offseason after NC State finished in around like 70th in total defense, 80th and 82nd in scoring defense. So he got the axe. They put Gibson in his place. Now, one of the things that Fordham stressed to me was coaching stability was important, and getting on the field early was important. And he said that Louisville told him, he's got the opportunity if he works for it. And Fordham looks like a hardworking kid based upon his physical development over the last year. And he also mentioned the coaching stability thing, and he said he thinks the Louisville staff's going to be there for a while. So if you want to look at it like in broad strokes, you say, well, NC State just fired their defensive coordinator, but at the same time, they also plugged his main recruiter, who he has the best relationship, into that defensive coordinator position, and he's going to be the linebacker coach, so he's going to be coaching him. Court Dennison and Derek Nicholson are the recruiters for him at Louisville. So I'm sitting here talking about Louisville. I'm sitting here talking about NC State, and that means he'll probably end up committing to Wake Forest tomorrow. but no, I do think it is NC State and Louisville, and I think that him pushing it back because he thought he could take more visits after the dead period. He thought that the dead period was going to end and he could go visit. It was weird to me because he said, I'm going to commit in like 7 days. And then he says, I'm going to wait about 3 weeks when I talk to him later because the thing got pushed back. And I'm like, well, what did you expect to visit Louisville in 6 days and make a decision right after that? So I don't really know what's going on there. If you want to read the tea leaves on the timing, you would kind of think that, he wants to take a visit to Louisville. But at the same time, he's already visited NC State, and he said he was going to commit in 7 days. So maybe he was leaning NC State and Louisville jumped in the mix, and they really got him thinking right now. I don't know. But I would say it is NC State and Louisville, but then he'll probably end up committing to Wake Forest because that's how it goes. That's a joke, but it could happen. Chris Tiven, my man, who frequently interacts with me on Twitter, is my guy. Hey, buddy. He asked, Dave Esquire, yes, I am a lawyer, thank you. What's the latest on the QBs, Sanders, Peary, and Chandler? Chandler just committed to Clemson, so call that a day. Also, now that McDonald appears to be going elsewhere, he's talking about Colby McDonald, the running back. Does the staff focus on Cooley? To answer the question about the quarterbacks, I think it's still Sanders and Peary. Boise State got a pick from Clint Brewster, and they already have a freshman incumbent, true freshman, and they just got Kenneth Sears, who I think was a former 5-star, could have been a 4-star, I can't remember. One of those two, highly recruited quarterback at USC, 2017 kid, transferred to Boise State. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. I think it's 2 years to play to, and weird choice to go there. So there's a log jam there. He'll still be there when Peary gets there. So I don't know if that really matters to Peary, but he could still go to Boise State. I don't know. I kept my pick at Louisville. I think it's between Peary and Sanders. They also offered a new quarterback out there. He's a dual threat kid, and his name escapes me right now. But I'll put that on the board. But they offered a new dual threat. So there's three. I want to say the kid's name is J.J. Harris, but I just cannot for the life of me remember his name right now. And I put it on the list, and all of a sudden someone took it off. So I'm looking at the offer list here on Rivals, and for some reason he's no longer on that list unless he's listed as an athlete. But I can't remember his name. So sorry about that. Brain fart, my bad. So let's keep it moving now. Let's get on to the next question. It's from Lake Boy 25. Once again, are there any prospects that you have seen with your own eyes that you think are really good and are surprised U of L hasn't recruited or hasn't recruited as hard as you expect them to? Yeah, Grant Bingham. I saw him with my own eyes in the state championship game against Boyle County, and he looked like a Power 5 kid to me all day, and surprised they haven't offered him yet. Other than that, nah, not really. I don't think so. Not that it come to mind off the top of my head, but Grant Bingham, definitely a guy who I was surprised hasn't been offered yet, especially with all the offers he has, and with Louisville sending out 2022 offers for linemen this week. TDG Miller, at this point, who do you think the top wide receiver target is out of Huggins Bruce? Seems most from the previous hot board are leaning or committed elsewhere. Any new targets for the outside spot? Oh, man, that's a question I should have researched before I got on here, and I didn't see it. I do think there's a few. I think that Jaden Alexis is still a guy they like a lot, but I think he stays down in Florida. Malachi Bennett is a guy they really like a lot, but Malachi has told me he's dropping his top 11 today. I expect Louisville to be in it, but they're going to have to really fight to get him. Demetrius Cannon from St. Louis is probably the top guy, actually, on the board right now. Demetrius is a kid that they've been turning up the heat on recently, and he's 6'3", 201 pounds. He's out of Trinity Catholic out there in Missouri, so he's got an offer list of, he just dropped a top 10 a couple of days ago. He put Kentucky in there. He put Missouri, Arkansas, Louisville, Illinois, Penn State, Kansas, Vandy, Indiana, West Virginia. That's a manageable offer list for him. And I think that, Missouri will probably be the team they got to contend with. Kentucky as well. Penn State, I don't know if he's a take there. Illinois, you never can sleep on them. And I think West Virginia is kind of deep at receiver. But he did tell Justin Rowland, who runs the Kentucky site, in his interview about Louisville, he says, well, I love Coach Brewer. He and the rest of the coaching staff, they coach real well. I talk with him a lot, and I feel like he has a lot of ways he can improve my game. When it came to Kentucky, he said, I love Kentucky. He says love a lot in this. He loves everybody. He says with Kentucky, I love Kentucky. It's a nice environment from what I've been able to learn about it, even though I haven't had a chance to visit yet, blah, 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 blah. So it's top 10 filler content, but he's definitely a top kid on the board for Louisville at the wide receiver spot. Christian Lewis is from Alabama. He's another kid that's looking hard at Kentucky and Louisville. I don't know that he's a take for Notre Dame, but he has an offer from Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame turn the heat up, I expect him to go to Notre Dame. But I think Louisville is pushing for him. He's one of the bigger targets. He's 6'3", 185 that they're pushing for. Joshua Burrow is another kid out of South Carolina. He's a 6'2", 195-pound kid. He has a brother named Jordan who does not have an offer from Louisville, a twin brother, and I think that's kind of a package deal. I don't know. Jordan Williams committed to Indiana, so you guys can stop asking me about him. He was supposed to – people were saying that they thought he was going to commit, and I did think he was going to, but I think Louisville kind of told him, let's hold off when we get you on campus, check you out, make sure your measurables are what they are, and because he never wasn't able to come. He wanted to commit somewhere. He committed to Indiana. So that's what that is, even though he didn't ask. Cars rule the world. He asks, with the momentum picking up for Amari Huggins Bruce, who do you think is the most likely option to join him as the outside receiver in this class? I just answered that one. Vincent74 says, what's the latest on Braden Wood? Braden, if you don't know, is a defensive lineman out of Colorado who visited here recently. Braden, I think some things would have to open up for him to be able to jump on board. So that's where that is. Are we recruiting Derek Edwards? Derek Edwards is as a safety or a corner. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, so I hope it's for corner. I'm sure it's corner. Might be 5'11", my bad. But they're definitely recruiting him at corner. Chris Person says, and he's one of those guys on the top two. I forgot to mention him earlier. So before anybody jumps down my throat, I forgot to mention him. Yes, he's also a take. He was supposed to commit earlier, and he didn't. I don't know what happened there. So whatever. But he's definitely a corner, and he's a take. Chris Person, Dave, any updates on Tank Jenkins or Nick Benito? Thanks. Chris, trying to be funny. Tank Jenkins and Nick Benito were kids back in, I want to say, the 2017 or 18 class. And these were two. Nick was a defensive end out of, I want to say, St. Thomas Aquinas. I don't remember where Tank went. I don't know where these kids ended up, but they didn't end up at Louisville. And Chris insisted that Louisville had a good chance and they were in a good spot for them. And so did the staff, ad nauseum, And while they were recruiting these kids they had no chance to get, they were missing on kids they could have got. But that's then and this is now. But I don't know where those kids are, but they ain't at Louisville. So there we go. Cards Rule the World asks, how close is Louisville to flipping Chris Paul Jr. from Nebraska? I was told he's not a priority, at least right now. So they don't have, they're very far away from flipping Christopher Paul Jr. from Nebraska. He's saying flipping him from Nebraska because he's committed to Nebraska. Chris Paul Jr. is actually from Georgia. Birds the Word asks, would the staff consider a safety class of Oliver, Caleb Edwards, and TJ Quinn a successful haul? I've never heard of recruiting staff, of coaching staff in my life say that they didn't consider the kids they got a successful haul. So to answer your question, yes. Jay Grimes, 1320, Ricardo Hallman, RJ Sorensen, and Emil Amy are all from the same high school in Florida and all have an offer from Louisville. It seems like Louisville is sitting in a good spot for Hallman and Sorensen, but have you heard much about Amy? Yeah, Amy showed up to the Miami camp, I think it was. It was Orlando, can't remember, but the takeaway is he weighed in at 5'8" and 5'8" and 3/4 inches and 206 pounds. So I don't think he's a take. Jay Hectus 18, do you see Ohio State offering Jordan Dingle a spot to commit anytime soon? No. As a matter of fact, Hudson Wolf, I believe, is the #1 tight end at his position. He's expected to commit to Ohio State any day. And I'm pretty sure Ohio State also has another tight end committed to them. So, no. I talked to Jordan a couple days ago, I'm going to say on May 12th. And, I asked him for a quick little update. And he told me, I said, when are you going to commit? He told me no specific date, but sometime in June or July. And told me he's going to be putting out his top schools any day now. I don't know who they're going to be, but I know he's an academic kid. He wants to major in something related to healthcare. He wants to get something like a master's in healthcare administration. And Jordan comes from a very academically focused family. His brother Jordan was a 2018 linebacker who went to Georgia Tech. And it's hard to get into Georgia Tech. He's a smart kid, and so is Jordan. I think he likes what Northwestern and Vanderbilt have to offer academically. And I don't know that he's going to commit to Louisville, honestly. A lot of people are saying it's going to be Louisville. Some people are saying it's Kentucky. He's done a good job of keeping everybody guessing, to be honest. But to answer your question, it's not going to be Ohio State because they're about to be full when they get the #1 tight end in the country in Hudson Wolf. So nah, man, he ain't going there. But Louisville's still in it, I guess, and he won't give me anything. So we're going to find out soon. He just keeps telling me he's 100% open, and he's telling me he wants to go to other schools. So we'll see. But he does say good things about Louisville. And Louisville feels like they're in a good spot, but I don't think he goes to Louisville. When's the last time a Bowling Green kid committed to Louisville? I can't even remember. Man, it's been forever. So I don't know. I don't think so. Flavor unit or flavor, Flav run it or flavor unit. I'm going to say flavor unit, but he capitalizes the R. So it's got to be Flav run it. But it could be Flav R unit. I don't know. Flav, let me know when I post this. Tell me how to pronounce your name. Either way, he asks, is it safe to say that our coaching staff is looking for athleticism, high motor, body type, and football IQ over player ranking when evaluating players? Yes, every college football coach is going to look at athleticism, high motor, body type, and football IQ over what recruiting sites are ranking a kid. Usually, though, those two things kind of mesh, okay? He also says, every time I click on a video of one of our recruits, regardless of rank, I'm seeing the same qualities in almost every recruit. All right, cool. CJ Rennis, I don't know how to say this. CJ asks, is it possible that we see 4 to 6 commits pop off in the next 2 weeks? No. Jay Hectus, 18. Where do you see U of L's chances with Jaden Alexis? You seem really high on him in previous chats. I'm high on him as an athlete and as a wide receiver. I'm not high on him coming to Louisville. Like I said, I think Miami's tough to beat. If like schools like Alabama don't say, yeah, you can come, which they might. So I think Alexis is kind of blown up, but the staff says that. I've been told by sources that the staff has told them that communication is good there and he's responsive. So you always got an outside shot when the kid's responding to you, so that's cool. And some kids go where the fit is, but I think Jaden Alexis would be a good fit here. I think he'd take the top off, and Louisville likes to throw deep on the play action. So I think he'd be a good fit here. I just don't know if they could compete with some of the schools down in Florida, as well as some of the SEC guys that are recruiting him. Ty Cards Niner asks, do you think Craig and Jaloti will get a bump to 3 stars at some point? Jaloti, yeah. Craig, probably not. But he could. I don't know. Who cares? 2-star, 3-star, you know what I mean? These kids are going to have to get in the weight program, beef up, and, fight their way onto the field. All right? And so do the 4 stars and the 5 stars. You know what I mean? But as far as getting a bump, I don't know. It won't be like they're getting bumped to a 4-star or anything like that. So the way the Rivals ranking works is they only count the top 20 kids for the points anyway, and that's what moves you up and down the ratings. So if they get 25 kids and they end up as 2 stars, it's not going to move the needle one way or another. So it's not really important. I think, don't focus on that. Just watch the film, listen to what the coaches say about them when they get here. And follow them in high school if you can. That's what I want to see out of people that are on my recruiting board. Is I want you to be like, hey, look, I watched this high school game of this kid. I saw this good stuff, this bad stuff. Be an educated consumer. Make your own conclusions. You know what I mean? So that's where it's at. Do the knowledge for yourself. And Ty, I know you're on here a lot, and I know you're plugged in. So I know that's something that you'll probably do. TDG Miller asks, Cater Fordham seems like the next likely commit. Is there any sense of a timeline this week, this month? He said 3 weeks. Jaire Williams, who is T. Will's son, out in Washington, is committing May 30th. I'd say he's probably the next recruit, but somebody might jump on before that. But from what I'm hearing, as far as definite timelines go, he's the next guy. Cardinal Cash, any idea on where we turn at running back? Oof, good question. Justin Johnson looks like the most likely option, as Cooley was leaning Duke, you said. And there are only 2 takes at running back that are left on the board. Cardinal Cash asked me this at 11:34 yesterday. Since then, I've switched my pick from Duke to Florida. I was told by my Florida source that he was actually supposed to commit yesterday, but didn't. And then communication went dark. So who knows with that one? Crazy times, man. But Cooley is probably not coming to Louisville. And Justin Johnson, I don't know. I know the staff likes him. He's on the board, and I get what you're saying logically from what I've reported and what I've been told is that Justin Johnson would be a take, especially with these other guys off the board. So maybe Justin is the guy. I do know that they really like a kid from Texas named Amani Watkins. Amani Watkins is a 4'5" dude. He's 5'11", 180 pounds. He's faster on the track than he ran at the opening. He's a track guy who's fast, got long speed, home run speed from the running back position. And I think Louisville probably likes him better than anybody else on the board. But for the most part, they're going to have to go to, they lost Corey Kiner. Colby McDonald goes to Maryland. Tavion Cooley is leaning elsewhere. So, yeah, you got to go look back down at who was on the board left. So, I don't know if they're the only two takes on the board. I reached out to a staff, to a source that knows the staff, and that guy told me, look, I got to get back to you on that because, they're losing their guys. Nash Vegas Card asks, do you think Louisville has a chance with John House, corner out of Brentwood? Brentwood's down in Tennessee. I think he's a take, and the staff said, the staff's still in communication with him. So potentially, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm going to go research that a little bit more, but I think they have a chance. Jay Hector's 18 says, will Louisville recruit Taj Rice out of the transfer portal? That's a fluid situation right now. Taj just hit the portal a couple of days ago. He left Duke for whatever reason that I can't get into. Taj is a good player, good kid, but I think that they're going to have to run this one up the flagpole. It's going to have to go up to the top. He's going to have to get the approval from Satterfield. From what I've been told, it's a fluid situation. Nothing definite has come out of that yet, so I don't know. I know a bunch of smaller schools have reached out, but at this point in time, it's unclear to me. And I would say, if I shook the magic 8 ball, I would say, signs point to no right now. But things could change. And he's been getting a good bump with the media. Like the media yesterday was all over it, saying, let's get Taj Rice, And, you want to get some good pub, and if Taj can play a position where you need some depth right now next year. And, if they vet him and find out everything that they want to find out, and they feel like, hey, it's no big deal, kids leave Duke and come here, then maybe they'll take him. But at this point in time, I don't think so right now, but it could change. So how's that for hedging my bets? And NKY Card 89 was going to ask that same question that I just answered. So that's going to wrap it up for the recruiting chat. I'll have this up for you guys, and I'll see you all again next week. Thanks for subscribing and asking your questions. And if you're not a subscriber, you need to jump on board so you can get in on all the action that I don't talk about on these free chats. And right now we got a deal. You get $50 in Louisville gear with your subscription. The subscription is $9.99 a month. So, you're talking $120 a year, and then 50 of that is you're going to get some Louisville stuff. So you're only paying $70 for a yearly subscription, and you're getting some free gear. So if you're not going to jump on now, what are you waiting on? Come get all this premium knowledge that I'm dropping on a premium recruiting board. But to you guys watching, thank you. To my subscribers, love you. Thanks for keeping the lights on and keeping the Zoom going. Have a good one. Peace.